Hi friends, my name is Maruti and I'm the co-founder of Kraku. In this video, we'll be looking at the explanations for all the 26 questions of CAT 2020 quantitative paper of slot 1. Most of these 26 questions are from easy to medium difficulty level. The problem with this is that there were 26 questions and the time to solve them in the examination was just 40 minutes. So 26 questions in 40 minutes requires you to solve these questions very fast. And if you add the exam related stress to it, it becomes slightly more tricky. Otherwise, I think given enough time and without any pressure, most of the people will be able to solve many of these questions. In this video, we'll be first showing the screenshot of the question, and I would recommend you to pause the video and try to answer this question on your own. If you're not able to get it, or if you want to figure out how we have solved it, you can then watch the explanation. Kraku also provides a lot of free material for students who are preparing for MBA exams. For example, we are giving the previous papers of all the important MBA exams. Free previous papers of exams like CAT, XAT, IIFT, TIS, CMAT, SNAP. All of these papers you can find with detailed explanations, and you will be able to also download them in PDF format. You can download all of this in the link given below, or you can just Google search Kraku CAT previous papers. If you Google search this, you will be able to get the link on your own. If you're looking for XAT papers, just change CAT to XAT. So Google search Kraku XAT previous papers to get the previous papers of all of these examinations. We are also providing 3 free CAT mocks, again in the latest pattern with detailed explanation and with video solutions. So if you want to take the free mocks, again just Google search Kraku free CAT mock and you will get the link to take the free CAT mock. If you are looking for any other help in cracking any of these MBA examinations, please feel free to comment below the video. We look at all the comments and we try to help students as much as possible. Please like this video, please share it with your friends, and please subscribe to our channel. In this question, we are told that 2 to the power y square into log of 5 to the base 3 is equal to 5 to the power log 3 to the base 2, and we are asked to find out the value of y. So if you're looking at it, this is of the form 2 to the power y square into a is equal to 5 to the power b, or this would imply that 2 to the power y square is equal to 5 to the power b by a, or again this would imply that y square is equal to log of 5 to the power b by a to the base 2. Or to simplify this, this will equal b by a into log of 5 to the base 2. What is the value of b? b is the power of 5, which is equal to log 3 to the base 2. And what is the value of a? a will equal log 5 to the base 3. Or essentially y square is equal to b, so that is log of 3 to the base 2 divided by a, which is log of 5 to the base 3 into log of 5 to the base 2. We can simplify each one of these terms because log 3 to the base 2 is equal to log of 3 divided by log of 2, and log of 5 to the base 3 is equal to log 5 divided by log 3, but because it is in the denominator, it will be reversed, and so this will become equal to log 3 divided by log 5, and log 5 to the base 2 will equal log of 5 divided by log of 2. We can cancel log 5 in the numerator and denominator, and so the numerator will become equal to log 3 into log 3, which is log 3 whole square, and log 2 into log 2, which is again the denominator is log 2 whole square, or the right hand side will become equal to log of 3 by log of 2 whole square. This is equal to y square, or the value of y will equal minus log of 3 by log 2. Remember that y is a negative number, so we can ignore the term log 3 by log 2. It will only be minus of that. So this will equal minus of log 3 by log 2, which is equal to minus 1 into log of 3 to the base 2, or this is equal to log of 1 by 3 to the base 2, which is option B. In this question it is mentioned that a gentleman decided to treat a few children in the following manner. He has a few chocolates, let us assume that he has 2x chocolates. Then he gives half of the stock of the toffees plus one extra chocolate to the first child. So the number of chocolates that the first child received will be equal to x plus 1, because we assumed that the total number of toffees is equal to 2x. And what are the remaining number of chocolates? The remaining number of chocolates after giving some chocolates to the first person is x minus 1. One of the things that we should notice is that the number of chocolates received by a person and the number of chocolates that are left after the toffees were given, the difference between these two is always equal to 2. Now the second child receives half of the remaining chocolates, that is, he receives half of x minus 1. Just for ease, let us assume that x minus 1 is equal to 2x1. Therefore the number of chocolates that the second child receives is x1 plus 1, and the number of toffees that are remaining is equal to x1 minus 1. Again the difference between the two is equal to 2. The third person also receives in the same way. Let us continue the same pattern. For ease, let us assume that x1 minus 1 is equal to 2x2. So the number of toffees that the third child receives will be x2 plus 1, and the number of toffees that are left after giving toffees to the third child is x2 minus 1. The difference again is equal to 2. Let us assume that x2 minus 1 is equal to 2x3. Now after giving toffees to the fourth child, that is x3 plus 1, the number of toffees that are remaining is x3 minus 1. Let us assume that this is equal to 2x4. And finally, after giving toffees to the fifth child, there were no toffees left. That is, the fifth child received x4 plus 1 chocolates, and the number of toffees that would have remained is equal to x4 minus 1. But we are told that this is equal to 0. It is mentioned that his entire stock totally exhausts after he gives toffees to the fifth child. So x4 is equal to 0. So the number of toffees that the fifth child has received, this will be equal to 2. So how many chocolates were remaining after giving chocolates to the fourth child? That will be 2 plus 0, which is equal to 2. Therefore the number of toffees that the fourth child has received will be 2 plus 2, which is equal to 4. Therefore the number of toffees that are remaining after giving toffees to the third child will be 4 plus 2, which is equal to 6. Therefore the number of toffees that the third child has received will be equal to 8. After giving the second child, the number of toffees that are left will be 8 plus 6, which is equal to 14. This would imply that the number of toffees that were given to the second child would be 16, and the number of toffees that are left after giving toffees to the first child will be 16 plus 14, which is equal to 30, and the number of toffees that were given to the first child will be equal to 32. Therefore the number of toffees at the start will be 32 plus 30, which is equal to 62. So the correct answer is 62.
The secret to crack cat is taking a lot of mocks. If you simply Google Kraku free cat mocks, you can find 3 mocks in the latest exam pattern. You can attempt them and get a detailed analysis of your performance along with comprehensive explanations to each question.
In this question, we are asked to find out how many 3-digit numbers are there such that the product of their digits is more than 2 and less than 7. Let us assume that a 3-digit number A, B, C satisfies this condition. So the product of its digits, that is A into B into C, is greater than 2 and A into B into C is less than 7. So the possibilities are that A into B into C is equal to 3, or A into B into C is equal to 4, or A into B into C is equal to 5, or A into B into C is equal to 6. These are the 4 possibilities. For each one of them, let us calculate the of numbers that are possible for this. If the product of 3 numbers is equal to 3, the only case in which this will happen is if the 3 digits are 1, 1 and 3 in some order. And how many such numbers are possible? We have to fix 3 in either the first place or the second place or the third place. So the total number of ways in which this is possible is 3. Similarly, if you have the product of 3 numbers to be equal to 4, here you have 2 cases. One case is that they are 1, 1 and 4 in some order, or they are 1, 2 and 2 in some order. 1, 1 and 4 can be done in 3 ways. Basically, you have to figure out whether 4 is in the first place or the second place or the third place. So there are 3 cases possible. And 1, 2, 2 can also be decided in 3 ways. Here we have to figure out whether 1 is in the first place or the second place or the third place. So again you have 3 cases. So the overall total is 6 cases. In the third scenario, when the product of the numbers A, B and C is equal to 5, The only way in which this is possible is if the three numbers are 1, 1 and 5 in some order. And the number of numbers for which this is true is again equal to 3, basically depending on which position the number 5 actually is in. In the final case where the product is equal to 6, we have two cases. Either the three numbers are 1, 1, 6 in some order, or they are 1, 2 and 3 in some order. 1, 1 and 6, the number of 3-digit numbers which can be formed using 1, 1 and 6 is equal to 3, depending on where 6 is. And if you are using the 3 digits 1, 2 and 3, the number of 3-digit numbers that you can form is equal to 3 factorial, which is equal to 6. Because you can decide which position in 3 ways, and once you fix the position of 3, you can fix the position of 2 in 2 other ways, and the remaining position will go to 1. So the total is 3 into 2 into 1, which is equal to 6, or the total number of cases in this particular scenario is equal to 9. So the overall total is 3 plus 6, which is equal to 9, plus 3, which is equal to 12, plus 9, which is equal to 21. So you will find 21 3-digit numbers such that the product of their digits is greater than 2 and less than 7. In this question, we are required to find out the number of real valued solutions for the equation 2 to the power x plus 2 to the power minus x is equal to 2 minus x minus 2 whole square. So if you look at the equation that is given, and if you look at the left hand side of the equation, this is equal to 2 to the power x plus 2 to the power minus x, or this is equal to 2 to the power x plus 1 by 2 to the power x. For every value of x which is a real number, 2 to the power x is always greater than 0. So this term is always greater than 0. So if you are looking at the term 2 to the power x plus 1 by 2 to the power x, this is always greater than or equal to 2. And the equality occurs, that is 2 to the power x plus 1 by 2 to the power x will be equal to 2 if and only if 2 to the power x is equal to 1, or if the value of x is equal to 0. Because for any positive number, the value of a plus 1 by a is always greater than or equal to 2 by using the arithmetic mean, which is greater than or equal to geometric mean theorem. And the equality will occur if and only if a is equal to 1. So in this particular case, the left hand side is always greater than or equal to 2, and the equality will occur if x is equal to 0. Now if you are looking at the right hand side, which is equal to 2 minus x minus 2 whole square, you know that x minus 2 whole square is always greater than or equal to 0. So 2 minus x minus 2 whole square is always less than or equal to 2, and the equality will occur when x minus 2 is equal to 0 or when x is equal to 2. So when x is equal to 2, the right hand side will be equal to 2, and for all other values of x, right hand side is less than 2. Similarly, if you are looking at the left hand side will equal to if x is equal to 0, and for all other values of x, the left hand side is greater than 2. So as you can see, left hand side and right hand side will never be equal to each other, because their minimums which are the same, that is the value 2, but they don't occur at the same point. The left hand side reaches its minimum at x is equal to 0, and the right hand side reaches its maximum at x is equal to 2. So the number of real valued solutions for the given equation is 0. In this question, we are required to find out the distinct positive integer solutions for the equation x square minus 7x plus 11 to the power x square minus 13x plus 42 is equal to 1. Here we know that x is a distinct positive integer. So the value of x square minus 7x plus 11 will be an integer. It might be positive or negative, but this will be an integer. Similarly, even the term in the exponent, that is x square minus 13x plus 42, will also be an integer. So this is of the form a to the power b is equal to 1, where a and b are both integers. So there are three possible cases for this to happen. The first case is that the number in the exponent is equal to 0, that is b is equal to 0. The second case is that a is equal to 1. This is of the form 1 to the power anything, that will be equal to 1. The third case is that a is equal to minus 1 and b is an even number. This is of the form minus 1 to the power 4 or minus 1 to the power 10. So let us try to see how many possibilities are there for each of these three cases. In the first case, when the number in the power is equal to 0, that would mean that x square minus 13x plus 42 is equal to 0, This can be factorized as x minus 6 into x minus 7 is equal to 0, or the value of x has to be either 6 or 7. In the second case, where the number in the base is equal to 1, it would imply that x square minus 7x plus 11 is equal to 1, or x square minus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. This can be factorized as x minus 2 into x minus 5 is equal to 0. So, this would imply that x is equal to either 2 or 5. Finally, in the last case, we want the number in the base to be equal to minus 1 and the number in the exponent to be an even number. So, we want first x square minus 7x plus 11 to be equal to minus 1, or this would imply that x square minus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0, or this would be x minus 3 into x minus 4 is equal to 0. So, x is equal to either 3 or x is equal to 4. But now we have to check if when x is equal to 3, the number in the numerator, whether it is even or odd. The number in the numerator will be equal to, in the exponent will be equal to x square minus 13x plus 42. When x is equal to 3, this will equal 9 minus 39 plus 42, which will equal 12, which is an even number. So, this is a valid solution. Similarly, when x is equal to 4, what is the value of x square minus 13x plus 42? That will be 16 minus 13 into 4 is 52 plus 42. This is equal to 6. This is also an even number, so this is also a valid solution. So, the total number of valid solutions will be 2 plus 2 plus 2, which is equal to 6. In this question, we are told that there is a solid right circular cone and the height of the cone is 27 centimeters, and this was cut into two pieces along the plane which is parallel to its base at a height of 18 centimeters from the base. So, let us look at the cone. So, say this is the cone in 2 dimensions. The height of this cone is given to us as equal to 27 centimeters. So, let us draw a line from the apex to the base. This height is equal to 27 centimeters. Now, it was cut into two parts from at a height of 18 centimeters from the base. So, if you draw another line which is perpendicular to the base, and let us name the triangle, say this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D, and say this is E. The length of ED is given as equal to 18 centimeters. Therefore, what is the length of AE? This will equal 9 centimeters. We are told that the volume of the two pieces which are so formed, the difference between those volumes is 225 cc, and we are required to calculate the volume of the original cone. So, we know that the height of the original cone is 27 centimeters. Let us assume that the initial radius of the cone is say 3r. So, the length of DC, this will equal 3r. So, if you consider the two triangles AE say F, this is similar to the triangle ADC, because all the angles will be the same. Angle A is common and EF is parallel to BC. So, all the angles, that is AEF, will be same as ADC and AFE will be same as ACD. So, as all the angles are the same, all the sides will be in the exact same proportion. So, AE divided by AD will equal EF divided by DC. AE we know is equal to 9 centimeters and AD is equal to 27 centimeters. So, this is equal to 1 by 3. We know that the length of DC is equal to 3r. Therefore, the length of EF, which is the radius of the smaller cone, will equal small r. So, the height of the original cone is 27 centimeters, radius of the original cone is 3r, height of the smaller cone is equal to 9 centimeters and radius of the smaller cone is r. So, what is the volume of the smaller cone? That will be equal to pi by 3 into r square into h. This is the volume of the smaller cone. Let us assume that this is equal to V1. And what is the volume of the original cone, the bigger one? This is equal to pi by 3 into r square. So, this is 3r whole square, which will equal 9r square into h, which is equal to 27. So, if you look at it, pi by 3 into 9r square is exactly equal to V1, or the volume of the original cone is equal to 27 times V1. So, what is the volume of the frustum, that is the bottom part? This will equal 26 V1. The smaller cone, the new cone that is formed, is equal to V1, and the overall volume of the original cone is 27 V1. We are told that the difference between 26 V1 and V1, that is 25 V1 is given to be equal to 225, or V1 is equal to 9. So what is the volume of the original cone, which is equal to 27 V1? That will equal 27 into 9, which is equal to 243. So the correct answer is 243 cc. In this question, we are asked to find out the area of the region which is satisfied by the three inequalities. The first inequality is modulus of x minus y is less than or equal to 1. The second one is that y is greater than or equal to 0, and the third one is that y is less than or equal to 1. So in order to find out the area bounded by the region, let us first draw the graph and try to understand what that region actually is. So let us first draw the y-axis and the x-axis. Now two lines are quite easy to draw. The first one is y is greater than or equal to 0 will be above the y-axis. This is the above the x-axis. So this is the first half, and the second one, which says that y is less than or equal to 1, can also be easily drawn. For that, let us first draw the line y is equal to 1. This will be a line which is parallel to the x-axis. So all the area which is between these two lines is bounded by the two lines, two inequalities, y is greater than or equal to 0 and y is less than or equal to 1. The only thing which is slightly more tricky is drawing the graph modulus of x minus y is less than or equal to 1. Or this would imply that modulus of x minus y is less than or equal to 1, or modulus of x is less than or equal to y plus 1. Here there are two cases. The first case is when x is less than 0, and the second case is when x is greater than 0. When x is greater than 0, the inequality becomes equal to x is less than or equal to y plus 1. In order to draw this inequality, let us first draw the line x is equal to y plus 1. X is equal to y plus 1 will be a line which has a slope of 1, which will be only in the positive direction. So it will be something like this. This is the line x is equal to y plus 1. And if you are trying to figure out which of the two sides, that is it above the line or below the line, which is the inequality x is less than or equal to y plus 1, try to see if origin, which lies on one side of the line, satisfies this inequality or not. Origin is 0, 0. In this particular case, x, which is 0, is less than or equal to y plus 1. So this satisfies the inequality. So the given area is this. If you are looking at the second case where x is less than or equal to x is less than 0, then the inequality will become equal to minus x is less than or equal to y plus 1, or x plus y is greater than or equal to minus 1. So again, to draw this, let us first draw the graph, which is x plus y is equal to minus 1. That will have a slope of minus 1. It will be exactly the mirror image of the earlier line. It will be something like this. And again, if you are trying to find out which side is it above the line or below the line which satisfies the given inequality, again try to see if origin, which is 0, 0, satisfies this inequality. 0, 0 would imply that x plus y is also equal to 0, which is definitely greater than or equal to minus 1. So origin satisfies this inequality. So the required region is over here. So the area that we are trying to find out is the area of a trapezium. If you are actually trying to name the vertices, let us call this to be equal to A, B, C, D and E. We are required to find out the area of the trapezium B, C, D, E. If you are trying to find out the area of the trapezium, the easiest way to do it is calculating the area of triangle AED, and from it subtract the area of the triangle ABC. So let us first put down the coordinates. E will be equal to minus 2, 1, D will be equal to 2, 1, C will be equal to 1, 0, and B will be equal to minus 1, 0, and A is equal to 0, minus 1. And let us assume that this point is equal to F. The area of triangle AED is equal to half into base into height, that is equal to half into DE into FA, and area of ABC will be again equal to half into base into height. So this is equal to half into BC into, if you assume that this point origin is O, AO. The length of each of this is known to us. DE is equal to 2 plus 2, that is equal to 4. So this is half into 4 into FA will be equal to 1 plus 1, so that is equal to 2, minus BC is equal to 2, and AO is equal to 1. So this is equal to 4 minus 1, which is equal to 3 units. So the required area which is bounded by these 3 inequalities is equal to 3 square units. In this question, it is given that there is a rectangular metal sheet of area 135 square inches and a circle is painted in it such that the circle touches two of the opposite sides. So let us first draw a rectangle and let us also draw a circle which touches the opposite sides. So it will be something like this. Now what is told to us is that the area of the sheet that is left unpainted, that is the area of the rectangular sheet which is not part of the circle, is 2/3 the area of the painted area. So let us assume that the area of the circle is A, then the area of the unpainted area is 2 by 3A. So what is the area of the entire rectangle? That will be A plus 2 by 3A, which is equal to 5 by 3A. But we are already given the area of the rectangular sheet, that is equal to 135 square inches. So this is equal to 135 square inches, or the value of A is equal to 27 into 3, which is equal to 81 square inches. So let us assume that the radius of the circle is equal to R. Say this is equal to R. Then what is the area of the circle? That will equal pi R square. So pi R square is equal to 81, or the value of R is equal to square root of 81 by pi, which is equal to 9 by square root of pi. Now we are required to calculate the perimeter of the rectangle. As we know the value of R, we know the breadth of the rectangle, which will equal 2R. So this is equal to 18 by square root of pi. And we can calculate the length of the rectangle because we know the area of the rectangle, which is equal to 135 square inch. So if you assume that the length of the rectangle is L into 2R, that is L into 18 by square root of pi is equal to 135. Or this you can cancel 9 on both sides, this will equal 2 and this will equal 15. The value of L is equal to 15 square root of pi by 2. We are required to calculate the perimeter of the rectangle. Perimeter of the rectangle is 2 times length plus breadth. The value of the breadth is 18 by square root of pi and the value of the length is 15 into square root of pi divided by 2. So if you sum them up, L plus B will equal 15 by 2 into square root of pi plus 18 by square root of pi. This you have to multiply by 2 to get the perimeter. This will equal 36 by square root of pi plus 15 square root of pi. Or you can take 3 square root of pi common and this will equal 5 plus 12 by pi. So the perimeter of the rectangle is 3 into square root of pi into 5 plus 12 divided by pi. In this question, it is given that there is a circle which is inscribed in a rhombus and the lengths of the diagonals of the rhombus are given. They are 12 centimeters and 16 centimeters. So let us assume that the rhombus and the circle are as given in the diagram. We know the lengths of both the diagonals also. The diagonals are 12 centimeters and 16 centimeters long. One of the things that we should notice is that in a rhombus, the diagonals will be perpendicular to each other. So both of them will be perpendicular to each other and they will also bisect each other. So if the diagonal is 12 centimeters and if you are naming the rhombus as A, B, C and D and the point of intersection of the diagonals as O, as we know that the length of AC is equal to 12 centimeters, the length of AO will be 6 centimeters and the length of OC will also be equal to 6 centimeters. Similarly, the length of OB will be equal to 8 centimeters and the length of OD will also be equal to 8 centimeters. Now, if you are considering triangle ABO, it is a right angle triangle in which one side is 6 and the other side is 8. So, we can easily calculate the length of the hypotenuse AB. The length of the hypotenuse AB will be equal to square root of 6 square plus 8 square, which is equal to square root of 36 plus 64, which is equal to square root of 100. This is equal to 10 centimeters. So the length of AB will be equal to 10 centimeters. Now let us also connect the center of the circle O to the point of intersection or the point of where the tangent AB meets the circle. Let us call this point equal to say Q. And let the length of AQ be equal to small a and the length of BQ be equal to small b. And let the radius of the circle, that is OQ, be equal to R. Now what do we know? Because we know that the length of AB is equal to 10 centimeters, the length of A plus B is equal to 10. Also, as AB is a tangent to the circle, even the angle AQO and the angle BQO will also be equal to 90 degrees. Therefore, we know that A square plus R square is equal to 6 square, because triangle AQO is a right angle triangle. Similarly, B square plus R square is equal to 8 square, because again triangle BQO is also a right angle triangle. Or if you subtract one equation from the other equation, we get that B square minus A square is equal to 8 square minus 6 square, which is equal to, what is 8 square? That is equal to 64 minus 36, which is equal to 28. B square minus A square is basically equal to B minus A into B plus A. This is equal to 28. We know that A plus B is equal to 10. So this will equal 10, or the value of B minus A is equal to 28 divided by 10, which is equal to 2.8. We know that A plus B is equal to 10, and we know that B minus A is equal to 2.8. So we can figure out that the value of B is equal to 10 plus 2.8, which is 12.8 divided by 2, which is equal to 6.4 centimeters. Now we can easily calculate the radius R, because R square is equal to 8 square minus 6.4 square, which is equal to, again this is of the form A square minus B square, so this will be 8 plus 6.4, which is 14.4 into 1.6. We can calculate the value, but it is not really needed, because we are only looking for the area of the circle. What is the area of the circle? That is equal to pi R square. So that will equal pi into 14.4 into 1.6. And what is the area of the rhombus? Because we know the length of the sides of the diagonals of the rhombus, which is equal to 16 and 12. The area of the rhombus is 16 into 12 divided by 2, because the area of a rhombus is the product of the lengths of its diagonals divided by 2. So this will equal, this is 8, so 12 into 8 is 96. So the required ratio is pi into 14.4 into 1.6 divided by 96. We can simplify this. 96 divided by 1.6 is equal to 60, or this will equal pi into 144 divided by 600. We can divide the entire equation by 6, so this will equal 24 and this will equal 100. Now we can divide the entire equation by 4, so this will equal 6 and this will equal 25. Or the required ratio is 6 pi divided by 25. So the correct answer is option A. In this question we are told that there are 100 students, of which x1 have their birthdays in January, x2 have it in February, and so on. And x0 is the maximum of x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 till x12. Then the smallest possible value of x0 is what we are supposed to calculate. So we have 12 numbers, x1 plus x2 plus dot 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 plus x12. This is equal to 100. And out of these 12 numbers, we are supposed to distribute them in such a way that the maximum out of these 12 will be the lowest. So how do we do that? Suppose we do it in the extreme manner. That is, if we give all 100 in one month, say December, and in all the remaining months we give 0. Just to understand how this works, then the value of x0 will be the maximum of x1 to x12, which will itself equal 100. But x0 is what we are trying to minimize. We want to decrease this to as low as possible. So suppose we make two numbers, that is x12 and x11 to be equal to 50, and we keep all the remaining to be equal to 0. Then what is the value of x0? In that particular case, x0 is the maximum of all of these 12 numbers, which will equal 50. So this has decreased, but we want to decrease this further. So as you can see, if we distribute this 100 as evenly as possible amongst these 12 numbers, then the value of x0 will be as low as it can. So if you are trying to distribute 100 across 12 numbers in an even manner, each of the numbers should equal 100 divided by 12, which is equal to 8.33. But 8.33 is not a natural number, so we can't, or an integer, so we can't distribute it this way. So what we will do is, in all the 12 numbers, we are going to give 8. So there will be 12 8s, the total will equal 96. We still have to distribute 4. So 4 of these 8s, we will convert them into 9s. So we will have 8 8s, which will become equal to 64, and we will have 4 9s, which will equal 36. The total will equal 100. In this particular case, the maximum out of these 12 numbers, that is 4 8s, 8 8s and 4 9s, x naught will equal 9, which is the smallest possible value of x naught. So the correct answer is 9. There is a straight road which connects two cities A and B. So let us assume that this is the straight road which goes from A to B. We have one car which is traveling from A to B. This is car 1. And we have another car 2, which is traveling from B to A. We are told that both of them start at the same time and they meet each other somewhere in the middle. So let us assume that they meet at a place called C. And after they meet, they take 45 minutes and 20 minutes to go to their destinations. So A will continue to go car 1 and it will take 45 minutes. And B will continue to go, and from C it takes 20 minutes. We are told that car 1 is traveling at 60 kilometers per hour and we are required to calculate the speed of car 2. So let us assume that the speed of car 2 is equal to x kilometers per hour. And let us also assume that the time that it has taken for both the cars to meet for the first time is equal to t. So what is the distance AC? That is the distance traveled by car 1 in t hours. Because the speed of car 1 is given as equal to 60 kilometers per hour, the distance AC will be equal to 60t. And what is the distance BC? The distance BC will be equal to xt. That is the distance traveled by car 2 whose speed is x kilometers per hour in t minutes. But we also know that car 1 in 45 minutes has traveled BC. Or that would imply that xt is equal to 60 into 45 by 60. Or this is equal to 45. And the value of AC, this is the distance traveled by car 2 in exactly 20 minutes. So AC, which is equal to 60t, is equal to x into 20 by 60, or this is equal to x by 3. This would imply that the value of t is equal to 45 by x. This is also equal to x by 180. Now we have a simple equation in x. So if you cross multiply, the value of x square is equal to 45 into 180. This is equal to 90 into 90, or this is equal to 8100. And the value of x is equal to 90 kilometers per hour. So the correct answer is 90 kilometers per hour.
We at Cracku provide all the previous year CAT papers along with many other MBA examinations such as IIFT, XAT, SNAP, MAT, CMAT, TIS and PGDBA in the actual exam format. You can attempt them as a test and get a detailed analysis of your performance or download them as PDFs.
In this question, it is mentioned that a person spent 50,000 rupees to purchase a desktop and a laptop. Let us assume that the cost price of the desktop is D and the cost price of the laptop is L. So D plus L is given to be equal to 50,000. We are also told that he sold the desktop at a profit of 20%. So that would imply that the selling price of the desktop is 1.2D and the laptop at a 10% loss. So the laptop was sold at 0.9L. We are told that he made an overall profit of 2%. So if the overall profit is 2%, what is the overall selling price? That will be equal to 50,000 into 102 divided by 100. You can simplify this. This will equal 51,000. And we are asked to calculate the purchase price of the desktop. That is, we are asked to calculate the value of D. So if you are looking at the second equation, let us multiply the second equation by 10 so that we can remove the decimals. So this would imply that 12D plus 9L is equal to 5,10,000. And because we are supposed to calculate the value of D, let us multiply the first equation by 9. So that would imply that 9D plus 9L is equal to 50,000 into 9, which is equal to 4.5 lakhs. Or if you subtract the second equation from the first equation now, 3D will be equal to 5.1 lakhs minus 4.5 lakhs, which is equal to 60,000. Or the value of D is equal to 60,000 divided by 3, which is equal to 20,000. So the cost price of the desktop is 20,000. In this question, we are told that a solution has a volume of 40 liters in which dye and water are in the proportion 2:3. So we have dye here and we have water. The total volume is 40 liters in which dye is 2 and water is 3 parts. So what is the volume of dye? It will be 2 divided by 2 plus 3 into 40, or that is 2 by 5 into 40. 2 by 5 into 40 is 16 liters. Similarly, the volume of water will be 40 minus 60, which is 24, and as expected 16 is to 24 is 2:3. Now some water is added to the solution to change the proportion to 2:5. Now after some water is added, let us assume that x liters of water are added. Dye remains the same, it will be 16, and water becomes 24 plus x. But now 16 is to 24 plus x is 2 by 5, because that is the new ratio. 16 is 8 times 2, so 24 plus x will be equal to 40, or the value of x is equal to 16, or the new volume of water, which is 24 plus x, will be 40 liters. So after some water was added, there are 16 liters of dye and 40 liters of water. Now 1/4 of this diluted solution is taken out. So if 1/4 of the diluted solution is taken out, 1/4 of dye is taken out and 1/4 of water is taken out. So what is the remaining volume of dye? It will be 16 into 3 by 4, that is equal to 12 liters. And what is the remaining volume of water that is remaining? That will be 40 into 3 by 4, that is equal to 30 liters. Now how many liters of dye should be added to the remaining solution to bring the proportion back to 2:3? So let us assume that, or say y liters are added. So the volume of dye is 12 plus y and the volume of water is 30. So now 12 plus y divided by 30 is equal to 2 by 3. 30 is 10 times 3, or 12 plus y is equal to 20, or the volume of y is equal to 8 liters. So 8 liters of dye should be added to bring the proportion back to 2:3. In this question, we are told that x is equal to 4096 to the power 7 plus 4 square root of 3, and we are asked to find out what is the value of 64. One other thing that you should notice is that 64 square is equal to 4096. So let us try to express x in terms of 4096. So 4096 will become equal to x to the power 1 by 7 plus 4 square root of 3. But if you are looking at the term 1 divided by 7 plus 4 square root of 3, if you multiply the numerator and denominator with 7 minus 4 square root of 3, the denominator, that is 7 plus 4 square root of 3 into 7 minus 4 square root of 3, will become equal to 7 square minus 4 square root of 3 whole square. 7 square is equal to 49 and 4 square is 16 into 3 is equal to 48. So this becomes equal to 1, or the denominator is equal to 1. So the value of 1 by 7 plus 4 square root of 3 is equal to 7 minus 4 square root of 3. So the value of 4096 is equal to x to the power 7 minus 4 square root of 3. We are asked to find out the value of 64. So 64, which is equal to square root of 4096, will equal x to the power 7 minus 4 square root of 3 divided by 2, or this is equal to x to the power 7 by 2 whole divided by x to the power 4 square root of 3 divided by 2, which is equal to 2 square root of 3. So that will be option C. In this question, we are told that an alloy is prepared by mixing 3 metals A, B and C in the ratio 3:4:7 by volume. So we have 3 metals A, B and C. In the alloy, let us assume that their volume is 3V, 4V and 7V, because we know the ratio is 3:4:7. We are also told that the weights of the same volume of the metals A, B and C is in the ratio 5:2:6. So let us assume that 1 liter of A is going to weigh 5x kgs, then 1 liter of B is going to weigh 2x kgs, and 1 liter of C is going to weigh 6x kgs. So now if you are looking at the alloy, we know their volumes. So let us try to get a sense of their weights. So what is the weight of 3V liters of A? It will be 3V into 5x, which is equal to 15 into Vx. And what is the weight of B? It is 4V into 2x, so that is 8Vx. And what is the weight of 7V liters of C? That will be 7V into 6x, which is equal to 42Vx. So what is the total weight of the solution? It will be 15 plus 8 plus 42, that is equal to 65 into Vx. But now we are told that the weight of the alloy is 130 kgs. So 65 Vx is equal to 130, or the value of Vx is equal to 130 divided by 65, which is equal to 2. So the weight of metal C in the alloy will be 42 into Vx, which is equal to 42 into 2, which is equal to 84 kgs. In this question, we are asked to find out the number of distinct real roots for the equation x plus 1 by x whole square minus 3 times x plus 1 by x plus 2 is equal to 0. So let us assume that the value of x plus 1 by x is equal to a. We are told that x and 1 by x, both of them are real numbers. So the value of a will be either greater than or equal to 2 if x is positive, or a will be less than or equal to 2 if x is negative. Because if say x is positive, x plus 1 by x, both of them will be positive. So divided by 2 will be greater than or equal to square root of x into 1 by x. This is by the arithmetic mean is greater than or equal to geometric mean theorem. So the right hand side will become equal to 1. So x plus 1 by x will be greater than or equal to 2. This is valid if x is greater than 0. Similarly, if x is less than 0, we can prove that a will be less than or equal to minus 2. So if x is positive, a is greater than or equal to 2. If x is negative, a is less than or equal to minus 2. In this particular case, the given equation will be transformed to a square minus 3a plus 2 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation, so we can simplify this as a minus 2 into a minus 1 is equal to 0, or the value of a is either equal to 1 or the value of a is equal to 2. X plus 1 by x, as we have discussed earlier, cannot equal 1. X plus 1 by x will definitely be greater than or equal to 2. So this is not valid. So we can ensure that x plus 1 by x is equal to 2, or you can simplify this as x square minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. If you just multiply the left hand side and right hand side with x, you are going to get x square plus 1 is equal to 2x, or x square minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. This would imply that x minus 1 whole square is equal to 0, or the value of x is equal to 1. So the only real root for the given equation is x is equal to 1. So it has one real root. In this question, we are told that log of 5 to the base 4 is equal to log of y to the base 4 into log of square root of 5 to the base 6, and we are asked to find out the value of y. So if you are looking at the left hand side, log of 5 to the base 4 is equal to log of 5 divided by log of 4, and the right hand side is equal to log of y to the base 4, which is equal to log of y divided by log of 4 into log of square root of 5 to the base 6. Log of square root of 5 to the base 6 is equal to half log of 5 to the base 6. So this will be equal to into half into log of 5 divided by log of 6. We can cancel the common terms on the left hand side and right hand side. For example, log 5 is common in the numerator on the left hand side and right hand side, and log 4 is common to the denominators. So log of y is equal to 2 log of 6. 2 log of 6 is equal to log of 6 square, which is equal to log of 36. So we can cancel log on both sides, so the value of y will equal 36. In this question, we are told that leaving the home at the same time, Amal reaches office at 10:15 am if he is traveling at 8 kilometers per hour. But he is going to reach early. He is going to reach at 9:40 am if he travels at 15 kilometers per hour. We are asked to find out at what speed he should travel if he starts at 9:10 am, if he has to reach at exactly 10 am. So let us assume that every day he leaves his office, he leaves his home at T hours, and he is going to reach his office at 10:15 if he is traveling at 8 kilometers per hour. So what is the distance between his home and his office? That is the distance of travel, that is the time of travel, which is 10:15 minus t, that is 10 1 by 4 minus t into the speed. What is the speed? It is 8 kilometers per hour. But this is the same distance we can calculate using the second equation. That is, he is going to reach at 9:40 am. So that the time of travel will be 9 2 by 3 minus t into the respective speed, which is equal to 15. So solving this equation, we can find out the value of t, which is the usual time of starting his travel. So if you calculate this, 10 1 by 4 is equal to 41 by 4 into 8 is equal to 82 minus 8t is equal to 9 2 by 3, that is 29 by 3 into 15, that is 29 into 5, which is equal to 145 minus 15t. So you can simplify this as equaling 70 is equal to 145 minus 82, which is 63, or the value of t is equal to 9. So every day at 9 am, he is going to start his travel from his home to his office. And what is the distance between his home and office? If he starts at 9 am, he is going to reach at 9:40, that is, he is going to travel for 40 minutes at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour. So the distance is equal to 40 minutes is 40 by 60, that is 2 by 3 hours into 15, this is equal to 10 kilometers. So he has to cover 10 kilometers, and the time of travel is from 9:10 to 10, that is in 50 minutes, that is 50 by 60, that is 5 by 6 hours. So what is the required speed? The required speed is equal to distance divided by time, which is 5 by 6. This is equal to 12 kilometers per hour. So what we have found out in this question is that the distance between his home and his office is equal to 10 kilometers. He usually starts his journey at 9 am, and if he is starting his journey at 9:10 am, and if he wants to reach his office at 10 am, the speed with which he has to travel is equal to 12 kilometers per hour. In this question, we are told that a train travels at 1/3 of its usual speed and it reaches the destination 30 minutes after the scheduled time. So let us assume that its original speed or the scheduled speed is s and the normal time it takes is t. But if it is traveling at s by 3, then the amount of time it takes is t plus 30 minutes or t plus 1 by 2 hours. Note that the distance it has traveled is the same in both the cases. Therefore, s into t is equal to s by 3 into t plus 1 by 2. We can cancel s on both sides, or the value of 3t is equal to t plus 1 by 2, or the value of t is equal to 1 by 2 divided by 2, which is 1 by 4 hours, which is equal to 15 minutes. So normally the time that the train takes to move from one place to another is 15 minutes. But what has been told to us is that while coming back, it travels at its usual speed for 5 minutes. So let us assume that again the speed is s. So what is the distance it has traveled in 5 minutes? That will be equal to s by 12. That is s into 5 by 60. Then it stops for 4 minutes. So the total time that has elapsed is 5 plus 4, which is equal to 9 minutes. And then it again restarts, and now we have to figure out by what percentage should the train speed be increased so that it reaches the destination at the scheduled time. We know that the initial time or the original time that was scheduled is 15 minutes, that is 1 by 4 hours. So what is the total journey? The distance of the journey will be s into 1 by 4, which is equal to s by 4 kilometers, of which it has already travelled s by 12. So what is the distance that is remaining? That will equal s by 4 minus s by 12, which is equal to by 12 3s minus s, which is equal to 2s by 12, which is equal to s by 6 kilometers. So s by 6 kilometers are remaining. And what is the time that is left? Initially we have 15 minutes, of which 9 minutes have elapsed. So there are only 6 minutes left, and in this 6 minutes it has to travel s by 6 kilometers. So what should its speed be? Its speed will be equal to s by 6, which is the distance remaining, divided by 6 by 60. This is the time left. That is equal to s by 6 divided by 1 by 10, or you can multiply it by 10. This is equal to 5s by 3. So the train has to travel at a speed of 5s by 3 to reach its scheduled destination at the same time. So what should be the percentage increase in its speed? The original speed is s, the new speed is 5s by 3. So the increase should be equal to 5s by 3 minus s, that is 2s by 3, divided by the original speed, that is s, into 100. This is equal to 2 by 3 into 100, which is 67%. This should be the increase in its speed.
The secret to crack cat is taking a lot of mocks. If you simply Google Kraku free cat mocks, you can find 3 mocks in the latest exam pattern. You can attempt them and get a detailed analysis of your performance along with comprehensive explanations to each question.
In this question, we are asked to find out the mean of all the 4-digit even natural numbers which are of the form AA, BB, where A is greater than 0. So the first 2 digits are the same and the last 2 digits are the same, and we are told that all of them have to be even. So if you look only at the last 2 digits, what are the possible values for the last 2 digits? That is, what is the value of BB? It can be either 00 or it can be 22 or it can be 44 or 66 or 88. How many 00s will be there? That will be dependent on what the AAs are, but what you can say for sure is that in the entire list, the number of 00s will be exactly the same as the number of 22s, which will again be exactly same as the number of 44s, number of 66 and number of 88s. So if you're looking only for the average, by symmetry, the average contribution of the last 2 digits will be the average of 00, 22, 44, 66 and 88. And what is this average? You can add them up, 0 plus 22 plus 44 plus 66 plus 88, that will be equal to 220 divided by 5, so the average will be 44 of the last 2 digits. As far as the first 2 digits are concerned, A, there is no real restriction that A has to be even. The only restriction is that A should not be equal to 0. So these can be either 1 1 or 2 2 or 3 3 or 4 4 or 5 5 or 6 6 or 7 7 or 8 8 or 9 9. Again, by symmetry, the number of 1 1s will be exactly the same as the number of 2 2s, which will again be exactly the same as 3 3, 4 4, 5 5, 6 6, 7 7, 8 8 and 9 9. So if you are trying to find out the first 2 digits of the average, it will be the average of all of these numbers. And what is the average of all of these numbers? You can sum them up. You will find out that the average will be equal to 11 plus 99, so that is 110, plus 22 plus 88, so again that is 110, plus 33 plus 77, so again 110, plus 44 plus 66, so again 110, and you have 55 in the middle. And 55 divided by how many such numbers are there? There are 9 such numbers. If you sum them up, this is equal to 440 plus 55, that is 495, divided by 9, that is equal to 55. So the average of all such numbers will be equal to 5544. So the correct answer will be option D. In this question, we are told that there are 2 persons and they are walking beside a railway track at speeds of 2 km per hour and 4 km per hour. A train came from behind them and crossed them in 90 seconds and 100 seconds respectively. And we are required to find out the time it takes the train to pass by an electric post which is nearby. So what we'll do is we'll assume that the speed of the train is s kilometers per hour and let the length of the train be equal to L kilometers. Now when it is passing by the person who is moving at 2 kilometers per hour, what is the relative speed of the train? That will be equal to L minus 2. And what is the time it has taken for the train to cross this person? It is equal to 90 seconds, which is equal to into 90 divided by 3600 seconds that are there in an hour. This is the length of the train. Sorry, this will be s minus 2. This is the length. But this is also equal to the, if you compare the same thing with the other person. When it is crossing the person who is walking at 4 kilometers per hour, what is the relative speed of the train? That will be equal to s minus 4 kilometers per hour. And how much time did it take for the train to cross him? It is 100 seconds. So this is equal to into 100 by 3600. Or what it implies is that s minus 2 into 90 by 3600 is equal to s minus 4 into 100 by 3600. We can cancel 3600 in the denominator. We can cancel 0 on both sides. So s minus 2 into 9 is equal to s minus 4 into 10. Or you can expand this, which will imply that 9s minus 18 is equal to 10s minus 40, or the value of s, which is the speed of the train, is equal to 22 kilometers per hour. And what is the length of the train? The length of the train is equal to s minus 2 into 90 by 3600. S minus 2 will be 22 minus 2, which is equal to 20 into 90 by 3600. We can cancel both the zeros in the numerator and denominator. The numerator is 18 and the denominator is 36. So the length of the train is 1 by 2 kilometers, which is equal to 500 meters. So the length of the train is 500 meters and the speed of the train is 22 kilometers per hour. So if it is crossing an electric post which is stationary, what is the time it will take? It will be distance divided by speed, but speed you have to convert it from kilometers per hour into meter per second. So that will be 22 into 5 by 18 meter per second. So the time it takes will be 500 meters divided by 22 into 5 by 18. You can simplify this as 500 into 18 divided by 22 into 5. This is 100, and you can cancel 2 from 18, this will become 9, and 2 from 22, this will become 11. So the required answer is 900 divided by 11. If you are approximating it, it will come to equal 82 seconds. In this question, we are told that a, b and c are all positive integers such that the product of a and b is 432, the product of b and c is 96, and the value of c is less than 9. And we are asked to find out the smallest possible value of a plus b plus c. If you look at the two equations that are given to us, we are given the product of a and b, and we are given the product of b and c. So let us divide one equation by the other. Therefore, what is the value of ab divided by bc? This will equal 432 divided by 96. You can cancel 24 from both the numerator and denominator. So this will equal 18 divided by 4, or this is equal to 9 by 2. We can cancel b from the numerator and denominator, or the value of a divided by c is equal to 9 by 2. This would imply that c is definitely an even number, because the ratio of a by c is 9 by 2 and a is a natural number. It would imply that c is an even number. So the value of c can be either 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, because we are told that c is less than 9. Now we know that a by c is equal to 9 by 2, so the value of a will be either 9 or 4 into 9 by 2, so this is equal to 18 or 27 or 36. Similarly, the value of b will be equal to 96 divided by c, so that would imply the value of b is equal to either 48 or 24, or 96 divided by 6 is 16, or 96 divided by 8 is 12. So these are the four cases that we'll have to consider. Now we'll calculate the value of a plus b plus c in each of these four cases and then find out which of them is the minimum. So if you're trying to calculate the value of a plus b plus c, in the first case it is 2 plus 9 plus 48, so that is equal to 59. In the second case it is equal to 24 plus 18 is 42 plus 4 is 46. In the third case it is 27 plus 16 is 43 plus 6 is 49. And in the last case it is 36 plus 8 plus 12, so that is equal to 56. So the smallest possible value is equal to 46. In this question it is told that there is a group of people and 28% of the members are young and the rest are old. So let us assume that the total number of people, just for ease of calculations, is equal to say 10,000. So what is the number of young people? The number of young people is 28% of this, which is equal to 2,800. And what is the number of old people? All the remaining people are old, so that will be 7,200. We are also told that 65% of the members are literates. So what is the number of literates? The number of literates will be 6,500. And all the remaining are illiterate. So what is the number of illiterates? The number of illiterates will be 10,000 minus 6,500, which is equal to 3,500. We are told that 25% of the literates are young. That is 25% of the 6,500 are young. So if you are just looking at the literates, the number of young people amongst this 6,500 is equal to 6,500 into 0.25. This will equal 1625. And all the remaining people are old. So amongst the literates, the number of old people will be 6,500 minus 1625, which is equal to 4875. This is the number of old people who are literates. What is the total number of old people? That is 7,200. So what is the number of illiterates amongst the old people? So if you're looking for old and illiterates, that will equal 7,200, which is the total number of old people, minus 4875. So that will equal 2325. And we are asked to calculate the percentage of old people amongst illiterates. The total number of illiterates is 3500, of which 2325 are old people. So what is the percentage of old people amongst all the illiterates? That will be 2325 divided by 3500 into 100. You can cancel this. So it will be 2325 divided by 35. You can divide the numerator and denominator by 5. So this will equal 465 divided by 7, which will be approximately equal to 66%. So the correct answer is option D, which is 66%. This question we are told that Viru invested 10,000 rupees at 5% simple interest, and exactly 2 years later Joy invested 8,000 rupees at 10% simple interest. We are asked to calculate how many years after Viru's investments will their balances, that is the principal plus the accumulated interest, become equal. So let us assume that Viru has invested for T years. The principal that he has invested is 10,000 and the simple interest is 5% per annum. And Joy has invested for T minus 2 years. The principal is 8,000 and the interest is 10%. So what is the total amount of Viru? It will be principal, that is 10,000, into 1 plus R into T by 100, that is into 5 into T divided by 100. This is the total amount that Viru is going to get after T years. And what is the amount that J is going to get? It is principal, that is 8,000, into 1 plus the rate of interest is 10 into the time period of investment is T minus 2 divided by 100. Both of these have to be the same. So we can cancel 10,000 divided by 8,000 is 5 by 4, and we can cancel 5 and this will be 20, and this 10 will cancel over here, or just the simplified equation will be 5 by 4 into 1 plus T by 20 is equal to 1 plus T minus 2 by 10. We can again expand this. This will equal 5 by 4 plus 5 by 4 into T by 20 will become equal to T by 16 is equal to 1 plus T by 10 minus 2 by 10, that is equal to minus 1 by 5. Or again, if you are simplifying, this will be 5 by 4 minus 4 by 5. This will equal T by 10 minus T by 16. 5 by 4 minus 4 by 5 will equal 9 by 20, and T by 10 minus T by 16 will be equal to, the LCM will be of 16 and 10 is 80. So this is equal to 8T minus 5T. So this is equal to 3T. Or this will be 4 and you can cancel 20, and this will be 3 and you can cancel 3. Or the value of T is equal to 3 into 4, which is equal to 12 years. So 12 years after Viru's investment, both their amounts will be the same. In this question, it is given that f of x is a function such that f of 5 plus x is equal to f of 5 minus x for every real value of x. We are also told that f of x is equal to 0 has 4 distinct real roots, and we are asked to find out the sum of these roots. So just to understand this function, let us assume that 5 plus x is equal to y. Then let us try to calculate what is the value of 5 minus x. So 5 plus x is equal to y, or x is equal to y minus 5. Therefore, the value of 5 minus x will be equal to 5 minus of y minus 5, which is equal to 10 minus y. So essentially what is given to us is that for every value of y, f of y is equal to f of 10 minus y. Now we are told that f of x is equal to 0 has 4 distinct real roots. So if you assume that one of the roots is f of a, this is equal to 0, then f of 10 minus a will also be equal to 0. If you assume that another root is b, such that f of b is equal to 0, then the other root will have to be f of 10 minus b. This will also equal 0. So the 4 roots will be a 10 minus a for some value of a, and b and 10 minus b for some value of b. So the sum of all of these 4 roots will be a plus 10 minus a, which is equal to 10, and b plus 10 minus b, which is also equal to 10. So the sum of the 4 roots will be 10 plus 10, which is equal to 20. In this question, we are told that a, b and c are 3 positive integers such that the sum of a and the mean of b and c is 5. That is, a plus b plus c divided by 2 is equal to 5. We are also told that the sum of b and the mean of a and c is 7. That is, the value of b plus a plus c divided by 2 is equal to 7. So let us multiply both the equations by 2 so that we can remove the denominator. So this would imply that 2a plus b plus c is equal to 10, and the value of 2b plus a plus c is equal to 14. This is the first equation and this is the second equation. Let us subtract 2 minus 1. So the equation 2 minus 1 would imply that b minus a is equal to 4. We are told that a, b and c, all of them are positive integers. So the value of b can be equal to 5, in which case a will equal 1, or the value of b can be equal to 6, in which case the value of a will be equal to 2. Note that the value of b cannot be equal to 7 or more, because we have b plus a plus c by 2 to equal 7. The mean of a and c, because both of them are positive integers, this mean will be greater than or equal to 1. Therefore, the value of b has to be less than or equal to 6. So the only two cases that we need to consider are b is equal to 5 and a is equal to 1, or b is equal to 6 and a is equal to 2. If b is equal to 6 and a is equal to 2, from the second equation, what will the value of c be? The value of c will be equal to 0, because 2b will be equal to 12 and a is equal to 2. So 12 plus 2 is 14, so the value of c will equal 0. So this is not possible, because we want all the three of them to be positive integers. If b is equal to 5 and a is equal to 1, what is the value of c? In that case, 2b is equal to 10 and the value of a is equal to 1. So the value of c will be 14 minus 11, which is equal to 3. In this particular case, all the three numbers a, b and c are positive integers. So this is a valid solution. And we are required to calculate the sum of a plus b. So the sum of a plus b will be 5 plus 1, which is equal to 6.